Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Let's play with some origami. So let's make it's called a base, which means something that you can make multiple other pieces from. The base that we're going to make right now is called the water bomb base. So let me jump to my document camera, make it full screen. So I've got my square of paper here. I've already folded one part of it in half diagonally. Now I'm going to fold the other part in half. And the way that I like to do that is I like to have the diamond shape, and I bring the bottom of the diamond up to the top. Notice that I'm spending a little bit of time making sure that it's matched up, lined up, before I make this crease down here. So I'm going to go ahead and make that crease. Notice I'm taking my thumbnail and index fingernail across it to make a nice sharp crease. For the next step, the way that I like to explain this to students is I like to notice how so I'm using these three fingers, my index, my middle, and my thumb. I'm putting my middle finger below while my index and thumb stay above. And I'm kind of creating a little bit of a curve here. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So index, middle, thumb, middle goes below. And what happens is I start to kind of bring the paper in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the centers of these two large triangles to the center of this triangle that is below here. So you can see I've just kind of done that. I'll show you that one more time. So I'm bringing right where my index finger's the center to the center below. And then what's nice is the triangle that was on the opposite side will just lay down nicely on top of that. I haven't creased anything just because I want to show you that one more time because that's a little bit tricky. So you can see again, just do this to kind of create that curve, but I'm bringing the centers of these two triangles that are on the right side and the left side into the base that is down below. And then I'm just going to, once I get that triangle laying down on top of the other triangle, I'm just going to very gently make all of those creases nice and sharp. So I'm just kind of reaffirming all of these creases. And this is kind of what it looks like from the side, just so you know. All right, now I'm going to work with the piece just as it is here. I'm going to take, so there are kind of two flaps here on the side. I'm going to take the top flap, this point, so this bottom right point, and I'm going to bring it up to the top of the triangle. So I'm just going to have that point touch the top of the triangle before I crease this edge here. So I want it to be nicely lined up, and then I just make a nice, and again you can see I'm just going over it again and again to make a nice sharp crease there. Do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just taking the top flap, I'm bringing this point up to the top of the triangle, and once I've lined up those 2 points, then I'm going to go ahead and press this crease in. So you can see now I've got a nice diamond shape sitting on top of my triangle. I'm going to flip the whole thing over, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the back side. So just to reaffirm, taking this point up to the top of the triangle shape, lining them up before I make my nice sharp crease. And now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. The point to the top, nice sharp crease. When you know you've made nice sharp creases, you can take your hands away and the piece just kind of pretty much lays just the way it is. If you haven't made sharp creases, it won't lay nice and flat like that. All right, so we've got those folds done. Now we're going to turn the whole thing, and this is again to make that water bomb base. We're going to turn the whole thing on its side, and I'm going to take, again, I've got two flaps here. I'm going to take the top flap, and I'm just going to fold that point into the center line. Making nice sharp creases. I like to always kind of, I think it's just a comfort thing. I like to fold away from myself, so I'm going to rotate the whole thing. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm taking what is the top flap here, and I'm folding it in those 2 points should touch each other. I folded it into the center line, making that crease nice and sharp. I'm going to flip the whole thing over and do the same thing on the back side. So again, I'm taking that point that's closest to me, folding it to the center line. Nice sharp crease, reinforcing with my thumbnail and my fingernail. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, folding it. So now you can see I'm pretty close to being finished. This last step might be a little bit tricky, so I'm going to kind of try to hold it up closer. So I've got these little flaps that in a moment I'm going to blow this up just like a balloon, and I'll show you that. But I've got these little flaps that would get in the way of making our balloon. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of open this little flap up. I'm holding it with this finger, and I'm just going to tuck this corner back behind. So I'll show you that one more time. So I've got this little flap. I'm lifting it up. Just going to kind of hold it open with this finger, and I'm just going to tuck that flap behind there and then fold it down nice and flat. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. So I'm going to open it up, tuck that flap back behind, and then make a nice sharp crease. Almost looks like, I've heard people say before, it looks like a jacket and a shirt. So it's like this part's the shirt, this is the jacket. You could draw a little guy on there if you wanted to. I'm turning it over now. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm lifting this little flap, holding it out with my other finger so that I can tuck it back behind. Do the same thing with the last little flap. Alright, so I've got, this is a completed water bomb base. And now what I want to point out here is on the bottom here, there's a small hole. Let's see if I can show you that. You can kind of see it there. So there's a small hole on the bottom. And I'm going to switch off of my document camera so I can show you. I'm going to blow into that hole and blow this piece of paper up like a small balloon. So let me show you that. So again, this is what it looked like before. I've got my bottom right here, so let me kind of, and when I pull those sides out, you can see that it kind of opens up that hole there. And watch, I'm just going to blow this up now. So I'm kind of loosely holding it as air kind of flows into it. I'm kind of pulling it out so that it can kind of open up. But this is our water bomb base. And I think it is called a water bomb base because if you use the right kind of paper, if you were to use wax paper, you could, at this point, you could fill water into that hole, and this would hold water. Even this paper will hold water. Eventually, it'll kind of tear because this paper is not that high of a quality. But this is essentially a paper-made water balloon. Water bomb base. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.